This is why we don't live stream.
Yeah. I was trying to make fun of Bryce and I poured water on my iPad. Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch, the show where we like to watch movies that we loved in our youth and see if they're still any good. As always, I'm Nick.
I'm Bret.
I'm Sam.
I'm Ash.
Am I in this?
And that's Bryce.
Am I in this?
And that's Sam.
Guys, I'm so excited. This is like the best movie in the world, and it's my favorite movie, and I'm so excited, and it's going to be awesome.
What movie is it?
It's going to be Men in Tights.
Tights. And what year is it from?
My childhood, 1993, 4, 3. Yes!
It's again from 1993.
All the good movies.
We cannot get away from 1993.
Before we move any farther, should you do the opening line, though? Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch.
You said that.
Who fucking did it, dude?
He super just did that.
We're living in a time warp.
We all said our names.
Oh, that's right. No, I was distracted by the cat.
Yes, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie too, or at least I think I am. And, I was thinking about this. I feel like Robin Hood is one of those stories that is like overdone. Like there's way too many Robin Hood movies.
Oh, totally.
So
it's kind of
for-
like Spider-Man.
No, there's more Spider-Man.
I kind of agree. There's too many Spider-Man origin stories. Mm-hmm. Like you can make as many Spider-Man movies as you want, but stop telling us the origin story. And it's kind of like if there were like...
But there's only one Robin Hood story too. So it's...
Right. They tell the same story over and over. So for me, it's Disney's Robin Hood, it's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and it's this. And then like end of game, like stop making Robin Hood movies.
Well, and there's the animated one too, right?
That's the Disney one.
Yeah, the Disney one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I mean. So this is the one from 1993, the comedy version of Robin Hood.
The best year for filmmaking.
Yes. Of course, written and directed by Mel Brooks, who we know from so many fantastic comedies from our youth. Mel Brooks was a writer for Sid Caesar and Get Smart back in the 60s. And in 1967...
Wow, I didn't know he did Get Smart.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was his jam. Which then led to his first movie in 1967, The Producers.
I love that film, by the way.
The original with Zero
Yes,
Mostel. And
so
I have not
good.
seen the original.
It is really, really good.
yeah,
Well worth
I need to
it.
go back and check that out.
Very
It's
good.
It's a weird progression. It's been movie, play, movie.
Yes, yeah.
It's like it keeps getting redone. And then Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein were both in 1974. And I think those are the movies that most people go straight to when they think of Mel Brooks.
He did both those movies in 1 year?
They released in the same year.
Oh,
Now, I
okay.
can't tell you when they were shot. But yeah, released in the same year.
I haven't seen Blazing Saddles.
Wow, man.
We have it on DVD.
It's good.
I've never seen it.
Blazing Saddles, I think, really informs why I wanted to do this show, because my parents showed me Blazing Saddles as a child and I loved it. And then when I was in college, I was like showing it to people. You have to see this. It's the best thing ever. And it fell flat and it was terrible. And
Oh, no.
it was a weird experience. And now I feel like if I watch it again, I think I'd probably like it. You
Yeah.
know?
Sometimes it's the vibe of the room and the environment.
And I could see the modern social justice warriors hating Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Because it really plays on racism.
There's a lot of, yeah.
And it walks that line between making fun of racism and actually being racist. And it depends on the room.
It's I would say, the edgier one of his movies, because of
Makes
that.
sense.
It's and it's also, I don't know, a lot. I've talked to a lot of people where they say that's their favorite one.
I think Travis McElroy talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Being one of, if not his number one favorite, and just loved it.
I thought like History of the World was people's favorites of his.
That's an interesting one to go to. So History of the World Part 1 was in 1981, and then Spaceballs in 1987, Dracula Dead and Loving It in 1995.
Oh, God, I forgot about that one.
I haven't seen that.
And that's weird. I wouldn't have gone to History of the World Part 1. That seems like
I don't hear that one often,
Yeah.
personally.
And he
Yeah.
did do some other stuff, but these are the big hitters that I listed off here.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
ones I always hear people talk about is Blazing Saddles, Spaceballs, and Men in Tights.
Yeah,
personally.
Spaceballs seems like the big one to me. And maybe I was just the right age.
I think that's the only one of that on that list that I've seen.
Oh, really?
You've only seen Spaceballs?
Yeah.
Oh, those are
Wow.
that's a lot of really good movies on that list.
You have
should check it
not
out.
actually seen Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Oh, and we've seen
Okay,
this like
okay.
a long time ago.
I was like,
it's been many, many years.
I used to watch this like every 3 months for a while. So,
Interesting. And so how long has it been?
oh my god, probably like 3 or 4 years since I've seen it. So,
And just to
Okay,
be clear,
long enough.
this is the movie that you're bringing to the table.
yes,
Yes.
I
Yeah, I
feel
think-
like it's me and Nick collectively, but sure,
I don't
I'll
think
take.
so. This has been the one you've been wanting to get in here for a while.
Yeah, because you guys won't let me watch it until we do it for the podcast, and I really want to watch it.
I really want to see it too. Don't get me wrong. I want to see it too. I'm just saying you brought this movie up first, so I'm just giving you the
I'll
credit.
take the heat, and if you guys hate it, I don't know if we can
I
be
don't think
friends
there's
anymore.
I
heat.
don't
Like-
think I'm going to hate it. Don't worry.
If it seems like I've been an advocate of this, it's because lately I've been feeling like we've been doing too many movies that I picked. And I've been like, let's get that one that Sam really wanted to do.
Nick is really selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you let me pick, I'll just keep picking shitty action movies.
I think you picked Lethal Weapon, right?
Yeah,
I picked Lethal
Well,
Weapon.
That was a good pick.
I threw it out there, and you guys accepted.
Actually, have you guys liked both of the ones that I've
So far, I think
what
we've
was-
liked.
You've only picked two?
Recall.
only done two of them?
No, I really feel bad. What was the other one?
The one with
Total
Talia,
Recall.
Total Recall.
Oh, okay. That
Totoro
seems like one I would have
Recall.
picked. So we've got,
Next pick is The Substitute.
Yes.
Nice.
I've not seen that.
but that's not until Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We got to get you something before Thanksgiving.
Hold tight till Thanksgiving.
So we get to see Carrie Elways in this movie, and this would have been the same year as The Crush, and 1 year after Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, or you can
I
think of it as
love that
Francis Ford
movie.
Coppola's Dracula. Yeah, that's
I
a
love
freaking
that.
masterpiece.
It's got some moments that may not hold up, but I still love it.
I'm just generally a huge fan of Dracula anyway, and I think that was just a fantastic version of that.
Yeah.
And Carrie Elways didn't have the biggest part in it, but I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
He was in Hot Shots, Glory,
Oh,
and of
yeah.
course, Princess Bride,
Yeah.
which is where I think the entire world fell in love with Carrie Elways. Then you have Amy Yazbek, who at this time was very famous for Wings. And I don't know that she's really done anything recognizable since.
Who does she play?
She's made Marion.
Maid Marian. Oh, okay.
And she's fantastic. It's another one of those cases of just like, at least the way I'm remembering, somebody who's really great, but then kind of disappeared after Wings.
You know who? I mean, there's a lot of great supporting characters.
Yes. And two of which came to mind are, it seems like Mel Brooks made a really good move here, is find a couple of guys who are fantastic stand-up comedians who hadn't necessarily launched a big acting career. So we have Richard Lewis and Dave Chappelle.
Oh
Both
my
just
God, I forgot.
brilliant stand-ups.
I forgot Dave Chappelle was in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryce, you're gonna love this movie.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I
love
seem
it.
to remember Dave Chappelle being fantastic.
Yep.
Richard Lewis as well. In fact, I'm
Yeah.
looking
Which
for
one is
some.
Richard
He's the
Lewis?
blind guy, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
No,
No?
Richard Lewis is King John.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, I'm expecting some vindication here because there's one of those lines that I constantly throw out from this movie that people never get, and I get very. I come off looking like an asshole whenever
Oh,
I say
no.
this
What is it?
because nobody recognizes it from the movie, and I hope you. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to recognize it from the movie.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's the line Nick says all the time.
You might.
Oh
You
no.
might.
We're going to hear it and be like, oh, and then still never laugh.
Maybe.
I'll laugh.
Yeah, without the context of this movie, it falls really flat. But
At,
no.
at my
Hopefully
old
we have that
job,
now.
we used to do a quote of the day, and on my last day there, I got to pick the quote of the day, and it was from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
What was it?
It was the, "Oh, you lost your arms in battle, but you've grown some nice boobs."
I don't remember that
I
at all.
remember that one. It's
Yep.
he's filling up the statue. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Hey, blinking. All right, let's watch
Yeah.
it.
So before we jump into the movie, let's see what we expect. I mean, Sam, it seems like you're expecting good stuff.
I love this movie, and I will always love this movie. And if you people ruin it for me, we are going to have some problems.
All right, fair enough. Ash, you've seen it?
I love this movie as well.
Okay.
I love, and this is why Sam's brought it up a few times, and I've brought it up as well, because this is my favorite Mel Brooks film as well. Like, this and Spaceballs are like neck and neck. But this movie, I think, had a huge influence on me wanting to be a comedy filmmaker. And so, yeah, I definitely love it. I still sing, the Men in Tights song, and there's plenty of quotes that I can remember from it. But I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. So I am interested to see how much of it that I've forgotten, maybe. Because I remember, like, some key gags, but... like the "lend me your ears." I totally, totally remember that one.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that until you said it.
But there's Mel Brooks in general as a comedy filmmaker. He always does this wonderful job of like walking the line of absurdist, but still carrying on a really good story.
Okay.
But like absurdist comedy.
Oh, I'm with you. I was waiting to hear the second half of that sentence and waiting for you to say something like absurdist, but still kind of realistic or something. Like,
no,
that's not the case.
No, just he still
has
tells
a good
story.
Yeah.
He's a good storyteller, but he does it in this sort of over the top way. But I really like him.
Funny fun fact of this movie and my experience with it growing up is that my first time watching it was on like ABC Family.
God, did they like
Wrong
edit
place.
it?
And yeah, we
they
came in
had
a few minutes late and we videotaped it. And so my whole childhood growing up, I watched this off of like record off of the TV.
Oh man.
And I loved this movie. And then I grew up and I went to my grandma's house and was helping her clean out her closet and found like the official DVD or like not DVD, VHS. So I was like, Grandma, can I snag this? And I went back and watched it in high school and I was like, this movie is the shit. It turns out that my little recording off of the TV was edited to be appropriate.
Right.
So all the funniest jokes were cut out. And I like rediscovered this movie as a high schooler and was like, it's so fucking funny.
It's
I love
kind of
it.
fun, I think.
Yeah. It was great.
I had the opposite experience with Muppet Treasure Island because same thing, recorded it off of television and always watched the the VHS that I had it recorded off of. But the DVD version has been edited down and there's like a whole scene and song that has been cut out of the movie.
Are you not thinking of Muppet Christmas Carol?
Oh, I'm sorry. Christmas Carol. Sorry,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Wait, what did they cut out?
They cut out this really sad song between Ebenezer and what's her name, his wife.
I don't know the answer because I never saw that version.
Or I guess, she's still in the film. She's not his wife. She's his fiance, and there's this whole beautiful musical piece where they sing this duet together, and basically she's asking him like, when are we going to get married? We've been engaged for so long, and he's basically married to his work, and he's giving her work excuses.
This isn't a flashback, right?
Yes, it's in one of the flashbacks.
I think it's on my DVD. You should borrow my DVD copy.
Interesting, because we watched it a couple Christmases ago, and however we watched it, it wasn't on there, and I was like outraged because I was like, "There's a whole thing missing."
So this is something you haven't seen, Nick?
I've seen the version that Ash has that's been cut. I have not seen the original version.
I'm shocked that there's a Muppets thing that you haven't seen.
Yeah, I worship the Muppets, but there's a few in the 90s, I think, where they're retelling stories as the Muppets playing characters.
You mean the best ones?
That I wasn't so on board with those.
Dude, like
for
Muppet
me,
Treasure Island is the best one.
And they are good, but they weren't really my jam. For me, it's the Muppet Show, the first few Muppet movies. Like those are where it's at for me. What do you think we're going to get out of Men in Tights, Bret?
So I remember liking this movie when I was younger, and I wonder if it's going to have the effect that what was that? That Monty Python and the Holy Grail had for you, where like Spaceballs, I didn't think was that great when I was younger. Not because the movie was bad, but because just people wouldn't shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah.
And it actually tainted a significant portion of the Mel Brooks brand of humor because it just tastes like Spaceballs.
Literally and metaphorically.
So I'm hoping that this doesn't have that, but I like I said, I do remember really enjoying this one. So I hope I'm still gonna like it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it's ruined by terrible children or if it's good of its own accord.
Yeah, I have not seen it in a while, but I have good memories of it. So I think it's probably going to be good, but I wouldn't put a ton of money down on it.
Ooh.
But I'm leaning towards I think it's going to be good. Don't look. I didn't say it's bad. I'm saying I don't remember it.
Sam looks sadder than any sad face emoticon could.
Wow! Imagine if I had done something wrong.
You did.
It's a yes and 2 maybes, and Sam's like almost in tears over here.
It's my favorite. Like, this is literally, like, potentially my most favorite movie of all time.
This is like that time you got that A-, right? Is that how you feel right now?
No, I did. I got A- all the time. There was one time I got a C+ that did this.
Whoa!
I was bad.
And your parents let you live?
Well, I was in college. Yeah.
So what do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, Men in Tights. I don't know. All the Marvel movies have been pretty good, so I think it's going to be pretty enjoyable.
So I think Robin Hood Mennonites.
Yes.
So I think Robin Hood Men in Tights is not on your Netflix and Hulu's. It's not on. I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime, but it is available for rent on iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff. And you might just have it on your DVD shelf. So we're gonna watch Robin Hood Men in Tights, and we'll be back in a minute.
We're men, only men.
We're men in tights.
Tights.
We roam around the forest looking for fights. So I think we need to address the pretty big elephant in the room here. I think that there's a lot in this movie that's very similar to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And I take issue with that.
Oh boy.
In fact, I really want to go back and watch Prince of Thieves. I think that would be really good.
Don't.
I've never seen it, and I wonder if this movie would be even funnier had I seen it.
I think it would, yes.
That's
Yeah.
the one with Snape, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alan Rickman.
Didn't we
is
watch that?
Sheriff
Didn't I
of Nottingham.
super hate that movie?
I couldn't
And,
make it through it.
I've heard it's the
Really?
worst.
Yeah.
It was like-
right?
I remember it being pretty good, but again, the whole topic of the show here, maybe it's not.
Alan Rickman plays like the cringiest character in a movie ever.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman is
What?
kind of like,
He's in it?
yeah, he's kind of at you
He
and
plays
kind
Dave
of the
Chappelle's
father.
character?
Well, he is in the beginning and goes through the whole thing. So you've got Isaac Hayes and Dave Chappelle as two characters here, but it was all Morgan Freeman and Prince
Oh,
of
wow.
Thieves.
I was
Yeah.
joking. I didn't know it was a real
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. And of course, Kevin Costner as Robin Hood. I thought it was good, although he didn't speak with a British accent.
Well, that's the joke, right? When he turns to the camera and he says,
Exactly.
the only Robin Hood
Yeah.
who speaks with a British accent.
So it's pretty terrible, Sam.
No.
what?
No, it was pretty great.
Surprise!
Don't say that.
No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I particularly enjoyed Dom DeLuise.
Oh, yeah.
That was brilliant.
That was fantastic.
That was something that I didn't get when I was a kid because I hadn't
Yeah.
seen The Godfather.
Yeah. And the same. Like I remember that scene now that I've seen it. I don't think I ever got it before.
Yeah.
And it feels like Dom DeLuise just had this Don Corleone impression in his pocket that he wanted to
God,
do.
so good.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy that looked like Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
he's
That's his
supposed
enforcer.
to look like Clint Eastwood?
I'm sure that had something
Well,
to
he
do
was
with the
carrying
choice.
a gun.
Yeah. You got to wonder though, like, was it written in guy that looks like Clint Eastwood, or did they do the auditions and they were like, oh my God,
This
yes.
guy.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was like a stunt guy that they knew and they're like, we're going to use this guy.
Clint Eastwood's stunt double.
It certainly could be. You know, what was it? Tarantino's movie, Death Proof.
Mm-hmm.
The main actor there was Uma Thurman's stunt double in Kill
Really?
Bill.
I didn't know that.
And she's just so awesome. He put her as the lead in Death Proof.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Zoe Bell, I think. Yeah, she was pretty great. So what do you got to say, Sam? We loved it. I loved it.
I still love that movie. There's a couple of bits that are like a little racist that I didn't remember.
Yeah,
It wasn't as
guess.
racist as I thought it would be, though, which was good.
I don't know. That stuff doesn't bother me in movies like this.
Brett's dying inside.
And there's something about, Mel Brooks coming out on screen and making fun of Jews that sets the tone for the movie that everything is cool,
Well, that's one thing, but the camel jockeys in the beginning is a little much.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes things are offensive and not funny, and sometimes they're just more funny than they are offensive.
Yeah, the visual of that was funnier than I don't think anyone would actually be offended by that.
Yeah.
Again, something that I did not put together until now watching the movie. I was like, oh, they're jockeys. And then,
Yeah.
just something that I thought was like a Looney Tune crazy thing when I was a kid.
Yeah. I didn't even remember that part.
There's a lot of inappropriate stuff for kids in this movie.
Like?
Well, everything is a sex joke.
Yeah.
Everything.
There's
And
practically almost 2 rape scenes.
Yeah. Yes, there are.
I'm really curious about this 27-minute version you must have seen as a child.
I know.
I don't have it anymore.
wonder
But so
What was cut out?
one that I remember very specifically is the cook. And he's like, wait, you changed your name to Latrine? And it cut. And he goes, it's a good change. A good change. And he cut out the whole line where she's like, yeah, used to be shithouse.
Yeah.
Like,
And yeah, I guess they'd have to cut that.
That's the thing to cut out of the movie? I feel like that's the least.
I'm sure there were a lot of things there
that's
had to
true,
have
yeah.
been.
So, did anyone else feel like this was just like it was a good movie, but it was just a less good version of Princess Bride?
I certainly wouldn't say that, but there were a bunch of moments where I found myself thinking, is this too much like Princess Bride, or is there just I'm seeing Carrie Elways and those synapses are
It's
firing?
Carrie Elways as the hero that's too good at everything.
That roguish smile.
The ham acting.
He's got that down.
They had instead of Andre the Giant, they had that hulking like Swedish dude from the
Techno Viking.
Techno Viking. All the way
Little
down
John?
to small
But-
details like the final fight in the bedroom of the tower.
But those are notes that you play in a story like this, and maybe Princess Bride was really riffing on that, where this had to hit those notes to tell that story.
That's a tough argument to make because you'd have to really be like, okay, well, which was written first? Robin Hood or Princess Bride? And Princess Bride was written a really, really long time ago, the original book, and perhaps just as long ago as Robin Hood. So
No, Robin Hood goes way, way back.
so does Princess Bride.
Princess Bride isn't.
No, it was written by William Goldman in the
No,
70s.
it is not written by William Goldman. He did an abridged version.
No. That's a gag in the book. F. Morgenstern is not a real author. That's a gag.
Really?
Yeah, that's a concept that William Goldman put together for the book. Oh. Yeah, that's not a real story. And those of you who haven't actually read the book, the whole preface of the book is saying, my family had this book for generations. It was written by F. Morgenstern hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was just a gag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Robin Hood is hundreds of years old, I think. I mean, at least the time and place it's set is the 14 or 1500s, but I've always assumed that it was very old.
I do not
Yeah.
know the history of Robin
Robin
Hood.
Hood is very old.
But I have to think that Princess Bride was written to more or less spoof these fairy tale tropes and had to hit some of those.
Robin Hood, the Merry Adventures of Robin Hood was written in 1883.
Okay, so not hundreds, like
800.
100, 150,
120, 30.
something like that.
But still a long time ago.
But yeah, there were like a lot of similarities between these movies of like exact plot devices and
But I mean, it's,
like the sneaking into the castle thing where they were dressed up as different stuff and like it felt like it was the same story, but like I really like seeing Andre the Giant in a movie.
Yeah, I sort of feel like they're two comedies that are making fun of
The same
similar
genre.
source material.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get the feeling that like Princess Bride is as like jokey.
True.
As like it's more sentimentally funny than it is like punny.
I use the word whimsy too much, but that is the heart of Princess Bride is whimsy.
Yeah.
But there's some really laugh out loud stuff. In fact, watching this, I see the abbot walking down the aisle, and I feel like Mel Brooks watching the marriage scene in Princess Bride thinking, God, I wish I could do that scene. You know, because the marriage scene in Princess, the marriage is what brings us together.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to make a hilarious medieval marriage scene funnier than that.
Yeah.
But he made a pretty good attempt in this movie. Like, it was pretty good.
I mean, I see your point. I didn't feel that way, but I do see, now that you point out those similarities, where you're going for. It kind of reminds me of our same conversation with Sandlot and Stand By Me, where there's a
Maybe
lot of
'cause that's fresh in our
surface
minds.
similarities,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Or they even had their Miracle Max character
they
in the
did,
Ugly
yeah.
Witch.
Yeah.
But I like in this movie, she's like, you know, well, maybe you should hire a witch. I'm your cook.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Well,
you know, good gags like that.
And more, perhaps it's because it's more recent in my mind. The whole movie I spent going, yeah, this is Gallivant. You know, like Gallivant
Yeah.
is borrowing very heavily to the point that they even had that Miracle Max scene.
Oh,
They
in
Oh, I
Gallivant.
haven't seen the second season.
They
yet.
have a whole scene with it, and it's like pretty. I don't want to say identical, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Like they.
I love Gallivant, but it is clearly borrowing heavily from this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Gallivant too, though. It's great. I wouldn't
Yeah.
discredit
Yeah.
it, but well, I really liked it, Sam, as
Well,
always.
yay! Weekends will be friends. I still love it.
Yeah, I definitely still love it. I think because I know all the gags, I don't find it as funny as I originally, when I was younger and I first saw it, but I still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I love this style of humor. I was thinking, I made the comparison to Monty Python before, and I really love Monty Python too, but Monty Python sometimes goes a little far into the absurdist
Yeah.
realm, as opposed to this finds like a good balance.
It's weird that this is the restrained version.
Yeah, it is weird, but
Because it's pretty ridiculous.
it is pretty ridiculous. But the funniest parts to me are actually like the throwaway gags that you could have made this movie without, but they're clearly like the things. I almost wonder if they're the things that Mel Brooks wrote the movie for, like
Yeah.
the horse valet and him pulling out the lock to put on the horse, like you didn't need that, but it's hysterical,
He split Robin's arrow in twain. Like, that's just such a small gag that, I don't know, but it kind of makes the movie.
Yeah, it's all these little gags that add up.
And they set a tone.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's funny how something can be set in the past and feel so, like, modern.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
like, no.
I think Dave Chapelle being like, I hope someone's
Yeah.
filming this.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I love what Dave Chappelle did in this, and this movie could have, like, after this movie, Chappelle could have gone in two completely different ways. Like, this could have been just one little embarrassing role for him years ago, but watching it now, it's just like, it looks like this seed of genius of what that dude is now that we know.
I'm surprised,
So
that
good.
they didn't even utilize him more. Like, I feel like they could have maybe, but he was a side character. So
Yeah, you make that movie today, he'd be the star. But
Yeah.
then, it's just some stand-up comedian that they stuck in there.
I absolutely love and still absolutely love Blinken. He's my favorite character.
I love him too.
Yeah. I just, the gag at the end where he's like, he's black. That's always been my favorite joke of the whole movie.
So is it not offensive to make fun of blind people?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like
My answer is no.
I feel like they're making fun of who he is and the decisions he makes, as opposed to the fact that he's blind. Like, they never tease him like, "Oh, you're really missing out because you can't see." They're just like,
Yeah.
"Dude, like, why are you being like come on.
Yeah. Yeah, and they play him as a dumb character because he's blind, but I don't want to judge movies like this
Well, I think
on
Sam's
such
saying
stringent
the opposite.
guidelines.
Yeah,
I don't think they made him a dumb character because he's blind. I
No.
think he's
sure
just
they did.
already kind of a weird guy, and
Yeah.
he happens to be blind,
Yeah.
which causes him some problems. But like, you know, like
He's kind of a Mr. Magoo character.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the when Mel Brooks is illustrating how he does the circumcisions, and he's like, question, you know, like that has nothing to do with if he's blind. He's just a weird dude, you know.
Or like
No,
the,
that has everything to do with him being blind
Yeah.
because he can't see the thing.
yeah. That part.
And Will
too.
is like, just pulls his hand down. No.
Oh, I didn't.
Or
get
like
that.
the beginning part where he's like something, you know, after your father died, and Robin's like, my father died,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, and your mother and your dog and your goldfish and your cat, and like it's just
Yeah.
not very tactful. And
Yeah, I think it was his being blind made room for a lot of jokes that wouldn't
Physical
make sense.
humor.
Yeah, it was physical humor, but the punchline was not him being blind. It was that him being blind allowed for more opportunities for comedy.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
feel like they were making fun
This
of
just like
blindness.
the Manly Men song. You know, you could look at that as it's just like this song about homophobia, but no, the punchline is machismo. Like it's the whole thing, just like we're men, we're manly men.
Yeah.
Like like just
I think
a bunch of buff dudes like super insecure with their sexuality and like looking like
Or hilariously secure.
yeah, it's the
That too.
irony of it too, that they're singing about how manly they are in like the least manliest way possible,
Yeah.
like in their outfits and their actions and the song.
And the point where they're like, yeah, or whatever. It's hard to say much about this movie just because it was so good, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't have a lot to say as far as like,
It's easier to pick at stuff that you don't like.
yeah, it really is.
Patrick Stewart at the end.
But why is he Scottish?
Yeah, was he playing Scottish there?
I don't know,
but he is
so-
Patrick Stewart.
I'll allow it.
The
Yeah.
great thing about Patrick Stewart, I keep getting older and he stays the same age.
Oh my god. You coming on to Patrick Stewart?
so. If you want to find the negative thing about the movie,
All right.
Here it comes.
it was the thing that I mentioned
Don't do this
beforehand,
to me.
which was the jokes that aren't funny. And I feel like there were several like really long scenes that were like it, and they ended, and I like kind of looked around, and no one's laughing, but also like no one noticed them at all. Like it was just like they're gone, and like
what?
Like he split the arrow in twain was funny, and then immediately after that they do that very long like
Patriot arrow. Yeah.
arrow, and just silence, and
That's so great.
and the I feel like a lot of the Mel Brooks movies that I have seen, like that and Spaceballs, have a combination of like really, really hilarious one-liners, and then like the Family Guy, like we're gonna keep this on screen because maybe it'll be funny by the end of it.
But I really respect the let's just put a bunch of stuff there, and that means we get more hits, but we've got a few stinkers.
Well, I think also it's hard for every joke to be as funny as the previous one. You know, like I think that's impossible. I don't think you'll find any comedy where that's like that, you know?
And maybe that would have been hilarious in '93 when we had all the Patriot missiles knocking down Scuds every day.
I actually laughed at the introduction of the Patriot arrow,
Yeah.
but like then the gag that they actually did with it was just kind of.
I didn't laugh just because I wasn't looking at the screen. I'm going to be honest. I was focused on doing something else at the moment, but
So, and I was very happy that Ash picked up on the line, the Richard Lewis line, when all of the suits of armor came into the room. I hope it's worth the noise.
oh yeah. Nick says that all the time. And now he wonders why we don't laugh.
Well, I'm not looking for laughs. I felt like nobody ever recognized what I was saying.
Oh no, we knew. We knew.
Now you can rest knowing that we
Now
know.
you can stop.
You're just sick of it. I realized at one point, like somebody was making noise and I said that. And then if you don't know the joke It sounds like I'm being a real asshole.
Yeah. Just like if you don't know your other favorite one, which is hold on to your butts. It could sound
Yeah.
weird.
Hang on to your butts.
The other day, Bret said, "Hold on to your butt," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, it's like we can't just say one butt. You got to say two butts.
But you're the only other person in the car. You say that to a group of people, hold on to your butts. You can't just say you have multiple butts.
But you all know he's not referring to actual butts, right?
Yeah, I mean,
He's referring to the cigarette. Hold on to your butts. Because it's always hanging out of his mouth. Cigarette butt. Hold on to your butts.
It's way
it's a
better the
double
other way.
thing.
Yeah, it's way better.
But
than
Well, I know, but that's not what he's meaning.
either way you slice it, you can't say butt. You have to say butts.
You have to say
Yeah.
butts, dude.
We need lots of butts in this podcast. So I have a question. What do you guys think? Because while I absolutely love Mel Brooks films, they feel like a time era, a period of time of comedy.
Every single one is stuck in the time it was made.
Yes, and
very much.
Like, do you think if he were to make another film today, do you think it would be good?
Well, let me answer that with Dracula Dead and Loving It, which was I've got that in my notes here somewhere, 1995. Mm-hmm. And that one fell flat.
I liked that.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like Dracula Dead.
Sam's
Loving It.
grimacing over there.
I know I haven't seen it. I'm scared.
It's I enjoyed it. But my dad was a big what's his name? The
Leslie Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen fan. So, I saw it in that atmosphere where my dad's a huge fan of him. But I mean, it's not his best work, but I liked it. But the thing that I kept thinking about while we were watching this movie is how so many comedies nowadays rely on like stoner humor to be funny. And Mel Brooks, he's not relying on that at all. This shit is just genuinely funny.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't there buzz that there was going to be a new Spaceballs?
It turned out to be
it was just a joke.
It was a joke. Someone made a fake poster and put it around.
And when that was happening, I was thinking, Mel Brooks is mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s at this point. So first you have to take into account that I don't know if that guy's up for making a movie right now. But if you set that aside, and if the question is, does a Mel Brooks movie work today? I don't know. I think it would work. I don't know that it would be marketable. I think that a studio might be really uncomfortable selling it.
It's tough because of the quality factor. But use our other comparison movie, which is the Monty Python. If there was like a fresh slice of Monty Python released today, I'm of the opinion that would flop like fucking pancake.
Well, I don't know. Like Fish Called Wanda is not a Monty Python movie, but it's got like a third of Monty Python. And it always kind of felt to me like, oh, this is what Monty Python would have been like in the late 80s.
What was that play we went and saw?
What About Dick?
Yeah, that was very heavily Monty Python crew too, and that
Monty Python plus Tim Curry and Billy Connolly. It didn't work for me, but a lot of people loved it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was not a fan of that one.
It's like I feel like it's a humor that like works in the context of
the era.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always feel like comedy evolves and you see like trends in comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it definitely wouldn't be the trendy thing, but I do feel like if they made a Spaceballs 2 and if they like really upped their game as far as like visual style and whatnot, and like nowadays with the computer generated graphics they have, they could even like make fun of that in the movie. I feel like
just have an
that
entire
could be good
scene where they're just on green.
Yeah, just on green screen. They forgot to key it.
I think of somebody I'm trying to think of who you can compare to Mel Brooks, and I think of the Zucker brothers, like the Naked Gun and the Airplane movies and all that stuff. And they did a movie recently called Movie 43 that I never saw it, but from what I hear, it was pretty bad. And I
haven't heard
need
of
to
it.
check it
I
out.
haven't heard of it either.
Yeah.
On the subject of comedy, I feel like I was a little nervous that some of the jokes wouldn't hold up, or they were jokes that I thought were funny as a kid and like none of you guys would laugh. But you guys did. You laughed at almost all the same things that I did, and
And you
comedy
pointed out
wise.
stuff that I hadn't ever gotten before that I was like, oh, wow. I never noticed that, or I
Yeah,
never
like
got
the kid
that.
is from Home Alone, the screaming kid.
Yeah.
And then he
Well, it's not the kid from Home Alone,
No,
but he
I mean,
did
sorry.
a Home Alone gag.
Yeah, he's
Right.
making fun of it, and then he says, "I really gotta go now. I'm gonna go home alone." Like,
Yeah.
I never got that before until you pointed it out.
Yeah, the funniest things today were the things that I'd either forgotten or was not mature enough to understand at
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
this movie gets funnier with age.
Yeah. It's like the experience of listening to Weird Al. Like every 5 years, there's new stuff in Weird Al that I'm like, oh, I never understood that.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it keeps popping up new stuff I'd never noticed.
Huh. I
Lot-
kind
lot
of felt
of
that
depth to
way
Weird Al.
about Friends, where when I saw it, I enjoyed it, but I was like younger in like middle school, high school. And now that I'm of the same age as the characters and watching it, you know, it's like, oh shit, I relate to this life issue so much more.
Well, I was like when Sam was going through that, and I was telling him, man, when I was a kid, I hated the shit out of Phoebe. I was like,
Oh,
what is this
really?
idiot chick doing on the show? And then like, because I didn't get that she was just being sarcastic all the time.
Yes, she's the funniest character.
Also-
I love her.
Yeah, as a kid, Friends is funny because there is silly stuff that happens, but you're like,
Right.
look at these adults. And then Friends is funny as an adult because you're like, these are dysfunctional adults, and nobody would ever act this way. Like, wow, I am so put together.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was a lot. Oh yeah, the hangman. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. There's just that tiny little moment. The hangman does his whole shtick, and then he just plants just a little kiss on his cheek.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's pretty freaking
And
great.
he's got, isn't he like wearing a fez with like a noose as the?
oh,
or,
I
like-
didn't know.
I didn't even notice the costume.
noticed
he
that.
had some sort of hat with like a noose tassel, which was just like, there's all these little details that I hadn't really noticed before that really, like you said, Sam, make the film funny.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and like it was that absurdist thing you guys were talking about, where not like Monty Python, the Mel Brooks movies seem to have absurdist humor that doesn't break the plot. Like it's all one-liner jokes and throwaway stuff, but like the movie stays grounded in its own
Yes.
universe.
Yeah, like what
Yes.
Ash was saying with the storyline. It doesn't totally doesn't break it up or take you out of it. It just adds to it.
They can tow a castle,
Yes.
but it doesn't make the movie feel weird.
I never understood that as a kid, and I would ask my mom, like, Mom, I mean, how could they move a castle without all the rocks falling apart? How could they move the castle and he would still be sitting there? How come the statue's still there? Like, totally missing the point of the
Yeah.
joke.
And it's also like, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's subtle, but it's like kind of going on in the background while
Yeah.
the story is still happening, you know?
Yeah, from the King and H&R Block. Like,
Oh, I didn't even see the H&R Block gag.
you know, he calls it out when he's like recalling the house or
Nice.
repossessing the house.
So yeah, I don't know how much there is to say other than I thought it was great. I thought it held up. It feels dated, but that's not a
too
problem.
bad, though.
Yeah,
Not too
it's
bad.
not too bad, but it feels of a time and place. That time and place being 93, not 1500. But
Aw, what?
but yeah, I thought it was really enjoyable. I'm on board. What do you think, Brett?
Yeah, I also had a pretty good time watching this, and you know, like I said, I think I'd rather watch Princess Bride if I wanted a medieval comedy romance. But
Well, I don't think
and-
you watch this movie for the romance.
No, but that's and even at that, I'd also rather watch
Gallivant?
Ledger.
Oh, A
Knight's
Knight's
Tale.
Tale.
Oh, A Knight's Tale.
Knight's
That's one
Tale.
we should
Oh,
do.
yeah.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, eventually we'll get to that one, but we won't flood the podcast with
Yeah.
just fucking
Same
medieval-
movies back to
same
back.
movie.
But yeah, Princess Bride would be my go-to, no question.
Princess Bride is like
Yeah.
my favorite movie of all time, and this one's second.
And if you haven't read the book and you love the movie, read the book, because it's like Nick said, there's all sorts of other little hidden gems in there that don't necessarily make it into the movie that are really great.
I gotta make it through The Name of the Wind, which I've been trying to read for a year. So it's a long
Hey,
queue.
you're like 30 pages in.
No, I'm like 130 pages in, bitch. I went on jury duty and I got a lot of reading done.
Nice. Well, we know Sam likes it.
Yeah,
and
I
I
love
like it as well.
What do you think, Bryce?
Bryce, don't do that. Don't hurt me.
Uh-oh. He's got a look on his face.
It was enjoyable.
Do you
I
mean
liked
it?
it. Actually, did. No, I did like it.
Yay!
It was like
And you're not just saying that because I'm giving you the Puss in Boots sad eyes.
I know,
Okay.
she is.
Okay, good.
Holy Grail. It was like the Holy Grail, but in my opinion, it was better. I liked it better in Holy Grail.
Wow. Cool.
I'm actually on board with that. Yeah.
Agreed.
I think this
Yeah.
is more enjoyable than Holy Grail. And maybe it's because Holy Grail has been driven into the ground. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
But yeah, I like this more.
I feel like it's kind of like what I said about the Holy Grail, where I thought the beginning was way funnier than the end, and it just kind of unraveled. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel like this was consistently funny throughout, and didn't kind of unravel and like maintain that story, which makes it more watchable, in my opinion.
But I do want to say I've got a ton of respect for the comedic royalty behind both of these movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An undying respect for all the people involved in both.
Thanks for listening to the show, everybody. Let's Rewatch is part of the Laugh Stash TV network. We have a YouTube channel where you can see our drinking show, Let's Drink, the cooking show, The Hunger Games, and some really cool video game parodies.
Video game parodies. Yes. And you can also please subscribe on YouTube. And besides subscribing on YouTube, please follow us on Twitter. You can follow Let's Rewatch at Let's Rewatch and Laugh Stash TV at Laugh Stash TV. And please send us movie suggestions to the Twitter account. We'd love to do some more movies. We just did one for Ralph. We did Sandlot. Again, Ralph, we love you. And we appreciate everyone who is reaching out to us on Twitter and engaging. Q, Jamie, Core Temp Arts Network, everyone tweeting at us. We love to hear from you. So please let us know what you think of the show and share with your friends, because that's really the only way people are finding out, through friends, friendship, and movies.
Yes, friends. We love you, and we hope you love us too. And if you do, please go ahead and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and most recently, Google Play Music. We'd love to hear your reviews and really help give us that bump.
And of course, another episode of Let's Rewatch will be out 2 weeks from now. We're putting out episodes every 2 weeks, so be sure to subscribe and join us for more old movies.
On Fridays.
Next time, we'll be watching the Thanksgiving classic, Thanksgiving.
Gobble,
What?
gobble, motherfucker.
Is that a dinosaur?
It's a murderous turkey.